Hey friends, happy Tuesday. I'm so happy you're here. You're not going to believe how productive we are going to be over the next 25 minutes. I'll go ahead and share my screen to kickstart today's Express Challenge, the first one of the month. Happy May. Today's going to be fun. I talk sometimes about AI, I sometimes talk about design, but really my love is branding. That's what brought me to Adobe and Adobe Live in the first place. Today I get to kind of lean on that, some of the things I've been working on over the last few years. Providing a service, building brand identities for clients all around the world, personal brands, company brands. Building a brand board is very much a part of what we would deliver a client. And so I brought some examples today that I think are going to be useful for you. Let's say hi to my friends in the chat. Hello, Jack. Um, if you're watching the replay, I hope that this stream serves as a little tutorial filled with examples on exactly how and why you should have a brand board. I believe that brand boards and brand kits work in tandem. If you are new to Adobe Express, well, welcome. Brand kits are one of the first things I do for my clients, getting them set up here to be able to leverage having all of their brand assets ready and available. So let's click on one as an example. So here we've got logos, multiple logo assets here in different colors. We'll talk more about that and probably use this example. We've got brand photography, iconography, templates in Express, all stored in one central place. So you might be saying, Phil, why would I need a brand board in addition to a brand kit? Again, they really work in tandem. We typically create our brand boards for our branding agency clients. I'm going to show you a few examples on screen before we hop into Express and create one together over the next few minutes. We create these typically in Illustrator, export them as a PDF, but I really love that now we can do so much of this in Express. Obviously, we're creating our logo assets like this, a logo, but not just one single logo. We're typically creating a color direction. We're creating a logo system. I'll talk about this in a moment. I should also note the remixable template link in the description of this video will give you this remixable template to get started. So I like to think I've already done a whole bunch of the work for you, I hope. That's my thank you to you for hanging out with me today, either live or watching the replay. Friends, hey, Franco. Hey, Yesenia. Hey, Robert. All my friends are here. Hey, Perva. Fantastic, friends. The first few pages of this remixable template will give you the instructions. When I'm building a brand board, I'm basically creating a resource that I can then hand off to someone and say, hey, here's what it means to stay on brand for my client's brand, personal brand, company brand. Doesn't really matter. You're going to see a combination of the different types of brands today with the examples I show you, and then you're going to have this remixable template that's going to kind of serve to hold the components of everything you need, and it's going to be great. So one of the first things I do, so again, instructions on the first few pages. Maybe let's review the different sections of a brand board. At least in my experience, obviously different brand designers will do this differently. I like to think of this kind of as, again, handing off resources to someone so they know exactly how to use your brand, what to do, and sometimes what not to do. Logo system, I would say logo and logo system. So in this first slide, I'll typically take what I would consider to be the main logo for the brand. Okay, so typically like a centered horizontal version of the brand. Let me just get this loaded here. Of course, when I need brand kits, they don't load for me. It's shy. It's shy because we're live streaming. Let me just hit refresh and see if this helps. There we go. That worked. So let me hop into here. I'm going to use that example that I had open a second ago. My client, Megan Gibson, who I've actually featured on Adobe Live before. So what we can do is hop in here. Again, brand kits and brand board work in tandem. It's not really a template per se for the brand board, except you decided to hang out with me today, so now you have one. I might take a logo like this that I consider to be the primary logo, feature that on this first page, so the person that's consuming this brand has a sense of what this is all about immediately. Now, what I could also do if I want to really make like a bigger impact, I could pop in a colored one, and then I could actually hop in here and draw a shape. So we'll go elements and then shapes, hop in here all the time. The template that I'm giving you is kind of branded for me. It's my brand fonts and colors. But friends, I'm hoping to encourage you to take this, use it as a starting point for your own. So again, you can take it. I feel like if my remixable template gets you started halfway, then I've kind of done my job, you know? Remember too that in Adobe Express, by having a brand set up for yourself, you can very quickly and easily, and you can see I have a lot of brands in here. You can quickly and easily access the brand colors, brand fonts. You only have to predefine those once in the brand kit, and then you can use and leverage that every single time you need it. So there's an example of what I might do on that first slide in our brand board for impact. Boom, right away, you get a sense of what that brand is all about. Before I continue on to colors, I'm going to hop over and show you a few more examples. Okay, so those are some logo systems. We'll talk about in a second. When I'm choosing colors, this is my client, Colleen Del Vecchio. Her brand is called Maxity. That's the name of her company. Um, she's a leadership coach and she's amazing. When I'm choosing colors for a brand, the rule that I generally follow is 5 colors: a white, a light, an accent color, a dark, and a version of black. Okay, if you've seen any of my streams before that are branding focused, you've probably heard me say that before. That's typically what I teach. But as soon as I teach it, I break the rules, right? So when I say a white, it doesn't have to be pure white. It could be, but maybe I'm taking some of these lighter tones. See what we do? We often choose a color and then we have lighter variations of it in case we need those for some variety. So the white could be this nice light color tan. The black, this is pretty close to black, but it's actually like a charcoal. I never do like pure black on a screen. I find it too harsh. So little tip, when I'm choosing black in a brand identity, I'll typically go with this one, 202322. It's like almost black, but not quite, just a little bit lighter to the eyes. Let's look at a few more examples. I promise you a company brand. So this is a fertility brand. I did not, like I was kind of given the logo and they said, Phil, this is already trademarked. Can you please build a brand around this? So we got this one on the right. We decided to make a slight modification when relevant and have this little leaf. You'll see a color system here. So again, it's like a variation on what I taught you. A white right there. Okay, Pantone transparent white. A light would be this gray and this tan. The accent color would be this beautiful ivy green. The dark would be the and maybe this kind of sits between accent and dark, this darker tan. And then we have a dark, which would be the navy, and we have the black, which would be the version of black. So a white, a light, an accent, a dark, and a black. And if we scroll down, you're going to see here why I choose a color palette like this, okay? Because we have a white background with this logo that is in the accent color. Then we have this other system working together, the light, the dark. Then we invert it in a way, right? Instead of doing pure white, we try to give some variety with that lighter tan. When you're building a brand and you're building a brand board, you're really creating a system, a kit for yourself, okay? A toolkit, let's call it that, or like a toolbox, so that anyone who touches your brand has the resources to keep it on brand, but to also keep it interesting. I'm going to just quickly scroll ahead to the web portion of this because you'll see it in action. By having this color system, see with the white background, but I don't want on a website for it to be white background everywhere. Your eyes will get bored. So I like to combine some brand photography with these color combinations. Do you see how this variety keeps it fresh and interesting? That's what I want you building for yourself. Let's look at one more example. Reviewing again, we've got our main primary impact logo, in this case, the word mark we use for Sonia Romano, who's a coach. This would be another version of it, aligned, center aligned. And then you can start to see some of these watercolor elements. I believe it was the elements in Adobe Express that inspired us to go in this direction. Um, Logo system, let's talk about that next. So while I have this up, let me show you this example. We have a center aligned logo. We have a left aligned logo that's great for email signatures, stationery. We have this stamp that's kind of a Phil Pallen signature. We do a stamp logo so that actually for stationery, it's great. footers in websites. And then this is just another option. Since she has quite a long name, we did a version that's stacked in case the space in which it's going is not very big, okay? And then color direction. You already know the trick by now. I give you a rule and then I break it myself. I'm allowed. You are allowed too. Take that framework and start with it. A white, a light, an accent color, a dark, and a black. Let's hop back to our Adobe Express template. And let's go to colors, okay? So we've done that kind of first slide, that main impact, and I use Megan's brand for this. Now let's open another brand and use a color palette to inspire this. Or maybe I'll stick with Megan's brand for now. This is looking good. So in Adobe Express, you can have your color palette just like this. Remember, this is branded for me right now, right there. So I've got lots of brands in here. Let me just click through, find Megan's right there. And I would just simply just click through here and start to change the colors. So I'm going to do this one. And then I'm going to stick with our accent color, which is that beautiful pink. I'm going to add that version of black. And then I'm going to add this version, which is that dark tone. I noticed that we need one more spot. And the beauty of this template is that it is designed for you to make it your own. So I'm actually just going to click duplicate on this little text and shape combo. I'm going to move that over. And friends, just use this as a starting point, right? It's not meant to like finish it for you. It's meant to just get you started so that the act of creating this is going to save you some time. So I'm just going to select all of our colors, which in this case is a palette of 6. Sometimes we start with the 5 and clients go, actually, I want one more. And I go, okay, that's allowed. It's your brand, not mine. You're allowed to have one more. But also we don't want too many. The more colors you have in a brand, the less likely someone is going to recognize your brand and your content and immediately associate it with you generally. Of course, there are some brands that where there's an exception to this, but you want to stick in the range of like 4 to 6 generally. I wouldn't go more than that. Another thing that I love in Express is that I can select this color and then I can hop over here, click custom, and then you can access the hex code. So this starts to make this really super useful for someone who goes to touch this. You might be super savvy in Adobe Express, but not everyone is, right? It's freezing for me a little bit here, but you know what I would do? I would click and I would drag this over. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to just center that and I will continue to do that. I want to actually do it right now, but I would continue to do that. Let me just show you one more thing that you can do. If I lower these, sometimes with brands, you saw it there a second ago, I will add variations of colors. So you could use this little half circle if you wanted. I try to get creative with this. My designer and I always think to ourselves, how can we show this in a way that's kind of a little more creative? We'll sometimes do like a little half moon circle vibe. We'll build a little layer outside of it. There you go. And let me just do one more. And then what I can do is use the color picker to grab some lighter variations of this. So click there. And then I could just, kind of keep them the same feeling. See what I mean? And then we would just continue to create those variations. Come on, Express. Cooperate. It's sometimes when I share my full screen, it goes a little slow, but I think you get the idea. It's glitching a little bit. I would just line these up and get creative with it. Hopping over to our examples again, let's look at Megan's brand. So we have that primary mark for impact. We have that center logo. We have the logo system. We're going to build that in a second. Here's the color palette. I told you 6 and then I broke the rules. Because again, sometimes a client will go, I want one more shade for this particular project or this particular sub-brand. We'll give them a name. You can see we kind of did this like circular outside area where you can sample some of those lighter variations. Again, you are building a system for yourself. You're building a system for yourself to make your brand as useful as possible. Let's keep going. So logo system is probably the easiest thing you need to do is drag in all the variations of your logo. If you have your brand kit set up in Express, that's going to be really simple. Okay. You can label them if you want. I generally don't label them. I try to just kind of keep it organized um, in a system that makes sense. So I might put that one there. And let's go here. That's our word mark. So I'd love to know how many variations of your logo do you have? Chad, I'm going to keep an eye on you. Let me know. Also, thank you, Jack, for linking the remixable template. If you have challenges with that, let me know. But that should work. So drag in your logo variations here so that at a glance, someone can see your logo system. Or sometimes I call this logo lockups, the different versions of a logo. Does that make sense? Got a nice centered version. We have the horizontal, left aligned, or right aligned rather. No, left aligned. Oh, honey, it's been a long day. There we go. Word mark on its own. And you'll basically just click and drag these into place so that at a glance, someone can look at your brand and understand what logo might make the most sense for the project that they're working on. Okay, so that's how we use the logo lockups section. Let's keep going. Complementary typography. This is super important. Let's go back to some of our examples. I'll scroll down since we've been working with Megan's brand. When I'm choosing typography, in the most simplest terms, I'll typically choose two fonts. But even as I'm saying that out loud, my personal brand has one font and different variations of it. Um, Choose a font, typically a sans serif or a serif. I'm sure this audience knows a serif has a little tick marks on it. Originally designed for paragraphs, big blocks of text so that it's easier to read, like a contract. And then sans serif literally is French for no serif, which you'll see in this example. Soleil light, Soleil semi-bold. You're, again, creating a system. You want to find two fonts that typically work well together. I'm a huge fan of Adobe fonts, not just because it's Adobe Live, but I've been choosing from Adobe fonts for, well, 15 years that I've owned a branding agency. Alternatively, I'll sometimes pull from Google fonts. A lot of my clients are on Squarespace, which uses Adobe fonts. It's integrated. Obviously, if you're using Adobe Express, Adobe fonts is fully integrated. So just kind of get creative. Also, I recommend exploring, look up on platforms like Pinterest, Google font pairings. Okay, Google font pairings. Let's look at a few other pairings. There we go. So you see here, this is kind of a serif-y vibe with a sans serif. That's like typically what we'll do. I think I scrolled back the typography up here. Yes. They wanted Google fonts for their stationery. Sometimes more corporate clients will say, hey, we use Google Docs. Can you stick with Google fonts? We'll sometimes have backup fonts. This is why you pay someone to design your brand, because it's actually a lot of time and a lot of research to make these recommendations. These are their primary font recommendations. Also, create your own pairings. Like, don't just rip off someone else because you like what they're doing. You can be inspired by someone, but don't rip them off. You've got so many amazing fonts in Adobe Express. So this is literally what I would do. I would just paste in. I think I've got an example over here. Let me find it. Let me open another Express tab very quickly and find an example. But basically, you want people to see, here we go. This is the brand for my client, Alan, who I was with live. Did anyone catch our live day last Thursday? If not, catch the replay. We had so much fun in San Francisco. I might copy this over. I brought in his brand board that we originally designed in Illustrator. And by the way, many of you are probably using and loving Illustrator, and that's fantastic. But if you ever find you need to do like quick edits or you want to share this, let me go back and just get let me do this body. So in this case, we have 4 different font variations, H1, H2. So those are headings, H3, subheading, and then H4 and body. Okay. You can just kind of make this a system that works for you. Let me just paste this in. Gotta love the ability to paste it the same one. You get the idea. I would basically just show the different characters and then I would center them. And that way, anyone who touches this brand knows how to use it in terms of typography. Okay, let's keep going because we're only got 5 minutes left. Oh my gosh. Iconography. I'm going to go very quickly on this. Obviously, the preference would be to have a designer create custom icons for you. Um, let's see these in action. I think I might have already, there we go. Here's custom icons that we created. Nothing can replace a designer that creates equal line weight icons, something very, very important to us. And something really unique. Like if you're a brand designer and you hand off a brand, it's a really good idea to include iconography, some kind of visual system for not just the client, but what makes the client interesting. Could be their services, it could be their products, their categories. You get the idea. Now, if you are scrappy and let's look at one more example, and you're building a brand yourself in Adobe Express, which you should be doing. Let me find some iconography so you can see it. I think it might be down here. Anyways, you can see, I think I might have scrolled past it. Oops. You can see a lot of these examples on my own website, by the way. Let's go back here. As I was saying, if you are building your own set of icons, and let's say you're just getting started out, you're not able to hire a designer to help, or you're not able to do it yourself, two areas in Adobe Express are going to be useful for you. You have shapes. These are very basic shapes, but you still might be able to create an icon system for them here under miscellaneous, under flowers, stars, you get the idea. But even better, icons has thousands of icons for all different kinds of words that you might need. And I also love this newest edition in Express where it actually gives you suggestions based on your file. That is so cool. So sometimes I'll hop in here. I will generally try to match line weight. Okay, so in this example, if we're going to use this icon, which is filled in, it's super important that you pick a style and you stick with it. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll choose a few that I like, pop them into the frame, and then I just start deleting ones that don't match the vibe that I'm going for. Kind of think of it as like a mood board. You get the idea. So you just continue to build out your iconography. Just make sure when you choose a style, stick with it. This is even a good place to just start brainstorming iconography. If it's something that you could hop into Illustrator and customize from there. I just wanted to kind of show you how that works. We've got a spot for it on the brand board. Now I'm moving quickly. Web execution. I would actually recommend you start to pair your brand photos with your typography, your colors, all of these elements start to come together. What you also might want to do in this one, I'm going to leave it this size for the template, but you might choose to resize this. So I actually might go like longer in terms of height. In my examples, you'll see that when I start to explore web, okay, like this, it goes quite long. So you might want to look at maxing the size in Adobe Express for this, but this is it. You just want to add buttons, which you can use for shapes. Your typography is already set. You've got brand photos that you should have in your brand kit. And it's just to show someone how to visualize your brand, okay, on the web. Does that make sense, chat? Is that making sense to you? Let me just keep an eye over here. Hey, Liz. Oh my gosh, I didn't see you. I'm so happy you're here. Hi, honey. Um, Jack, Phil touched on this with the backup fonts, but you want to pick the closest approximation. Exactly, friend. Exactly. This whole act is really just creating a system for yourself. And the last thing that I want to do in our 2 minutes remaining is we call web execution, so how your brand lives on the web, and then print. And friends, this is where you can have so much fun. I quickly dragged in this hat mockup that I found under templates. What I might want to do now is go to brand. Let's choose a different brand for this. I'm going to choose my client, Kelly, Sweat Love Soul. She's got this great filled in logo that we created that I absolutely love. Let's drag this in. Obviously, to do a mockup in Express, you can use a series of add-ons. But what I typically do for a quick one, obviously that doesn't look real yet. So click over on opacity and then click this, multiply. And what that's going to do, you can adjust the opacity. It's going to give you the flexibility to make it look a little more realistic. Let's find this one, actually. Let's do this one. So her little icon, I'm going to drag that into place, go to opacity. and then go multiply, and then maybe further adjust the opacity. See how that makes it look a lot more realistic, friends? That's how you'll have some fun in print. Let me show you very quickly 2 add-ons that are going to be useful for mockups, and then we're going to wrap. Artboard mockups. And there's one more, Mockup Studio. Mockup Studio is good for digital. Artboard mockups, I think, is good for the physical mockups. Or I might have got those switched up. I don't know. You go take a look and you let me know. Friends, that is how you create a brand board. I know we move fast, but this template is designed to get you started, friends. So go out there, enjoy, create that brand board, and have it work in tandem with your brand kit. And let me know how it goes. I'll be doing Express challenges all month, so I will see you 1 week from today, and I look forward to it. Thank you, chat, for hanging out with me, and thank you, viewer. We appreciate you. We'll see you around soon.